Jojo. How are you
Hi,
doing
nice to
today?
meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Congratulations on the movie and the book on which it is based. I suppose my first question for you, Jojo, would be what kind of research went into, capturing the 1960s era of The Last Letter from Your Lover? Because it really is so fabulous.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question because I'm such a research geek. The thing that I did for this was I went into the old British newspaper library when it used to be in Colindale in part of London, a very unsalubrious part of London. And I just sat with old newspapers and I did microfiche, if you're old enough to remember that, and printed out pages and pages. And then I plastered my office with them because what those newspaper pages do is they give you the preoccupations of the age, they give you the names, they give you the fashions, they give you the adverts, which tell you what people wanted, the background news of the day. And in fact, it's not so big in the film, but one of the things that happened was I picked up this old newspaper and out fell a supplement called Asbestos, the Wonder Mineral. And it was illustrated by a woman holding this huge pile of chrysotile asbestos. And my first thought was chilled because I thought, what happened to this woman? Because obviously now we know it was deadly poison. And so that immediately made me think, what if Lawrence, Jennifer's husband, was in charge of an asbestos mine? And it just immediately gives you a whole new plot line. So I love doing the research, and I get stuck in. I buy old magazines from eBay and other auction sites, and yeah, I just try and immerse myself.
Absolutely. Well, that answers my question. It was very thorough. What did you think of Shailene Woodley and Felicity Jones and the rest of the cast member when it came to, bringing the characters that you penned to life?
Yeah, well, when I'm going to be honest and say when they first said that Shailene wanted to play Jennifer, I was kind of taken aback because the Jennifer in the book looks like Grace Kelly, and I was like, hang on, she's blonde and kind of icy looking. But then when I saw Shailene both in costume and also just inhabiting the character of Jennifer, I just knew that she was right because she brings this kind of she's very composed on one level, but there's a vulnerability about her. There's a couple of scenes where she just kind of seems to vibrate with longing. And that's the gorgeous thing about having really good actresses because they carry you along with them. And I think you experience as an audience everything that she experiences. And in terms of Felicity, we'd actually talked about working together on something else many years ago, which didn't happen. And so I was thrilled. But I think the thing that really surprised me was that she wanted to play Ellie, because we're used to seeing Felicity play quite buttoned up characters, quite kind of held in. And I think what you see in this is that she's funny. And she plays Ellie, who is messy and chaotic and has made a kind of series of big errors in her life. And she brings it to life and she makes you laugh. And I think people are going to be really surprised by that.
Absolutely. No, that's just it. I loved seeing Felicity in a kind of more comical role, and then with Shailene Woodley, I think you're right that she just brings this aura of some kind of like classical Hollywood actress to the
Yes.
role, and it really does absolutely
Yes.
work. What I find kind of interesting that distinguishes this from, say, Me Before You, and I love that trilogy, by the way. I just love
Thank
all three of those books. But you actually adapted the movie screenplay for that, but you didn't in this case, and I was wondering how that came about. And then was it also a challenge actually, allowing someone else to kind of rework your book into a movie?
Well, the reason I never intended originally to be involved with this one, because it was originally optioned something like 11 years ago.
Okay.
And it was way back when I had never written a screenplay. And this is literally the most convoluted, complicated plot I'd ever written. I still don't really know how I managed to pull it all together. So the thought of trying to adapt this was just way out of my league. So it got adapted by other people, but I always was sent versions of the script as it evolved. And the closer we came to actually making it, I would do notes, producer notes and point things out because, with the writer, we're always so much more aware of the whole plot because we've carried it in our heads for ages. So sometimes we can work out that if you do this, this isn't going to work later on. And I was lucky because Augustine is a very collaborative person and kind of wanted to consult on lots of things. So I'm still not sure I would have attempted to do it. I take my hat off to the two scriptwriters who did it because they've made it work in a way that feels pretty seamless. But yes, I do I'm all over everything else.
Absolutely love it. And you're still kind of part of the process and everything,
Yeah.
which is very important. I think I have time for one more question, Jojo.
Okay.
So something I've been asking everyone else so far, a big theme of this movie, I think, is it reflects on both new and old forms of communication and miscommunication, actually. So I was wondering, what are your own kind of stances and thoughts when it comes to, the classical letter writing versus, more modern forms of communication like text calls and everything?
I am a constant communicator. I am that terrible person who's always, on a WhatsApp group or texting somebody or sending somebody a picture. But I am old enough to have received a number of love letters in my youth, and I still have them in a shoebox, wrapped in a red ribbon. And I'm so glad I have them, because no one's going to keep, a text message 20 years later. No one's going to look at something and go, that guy sent me an aubergine emoji. That's so cute. It's not going to happen. It's not the same. So I feel like we're kind of missing a trick. I think we haven't yet realized what we've lost. And I really hope that the film encourages people to maybe write, I don't know, a postcard or just a few lines, because it's kind of a uniquely magical thing.
Absolutely. We'll have to leave it there, but I love that that's kind of a lovely romantic note. It's very reflective of the movie itself. So congratulations again, Jojo.
Thank you again. This was fun.
Dear Jay, please forgive this last letter.
An invitation to come away. I'll be waiting.